Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a really beautiful, profound little narrative from a story called Allah Daik Rahahai, which translates to Allah is watching. Now, on the surface, this might just seem like a simple children's story, right? But honestly, it holds some incredibly deep lessons in spiritual psychology. We're going to explore the roots of faith, what integrity actually looks like, and how the physical presence of a moral guide, like the Quran in this case, can totally anchor us in our most vulnerable moments. Okay, let's dive right into this by asking what is basically the ultimate question of human character. What do you do when absolutely no one is watching? It's the classic ethical dilemma. I mean, it's pretty easy to do the right thing when you've got an audience, when your parents, your teachers, or just society in general are keeping an eye on you. But who are you in the dark? Who are you when the only thing keeping you from giving in to a sudden temptation is your own internal compass? Keep that question right in the back of your mind, because it's the beating heart of the story we're about to break down. To really grasp the gravity of the choice our characters make, we've got to set the scene first. So picture this. It's a quiet village evening. The sun is just starting to set behind the fields, and the earthy streets are echoing with the fading sounds of kids playing. It's that magical, serene time of day right before the Maghrib prayer. Now, our two main characters, young boys named Abdullah and Khalid, are walking home from their madrasa. But notice a really vital detail here. They are holding the Quran tightly against their chests. They aren't just carrying any book. They're carrying the ultimate symbol of divine guidance, literally holding their faith in their hands. As they walk, we instantly see two totally different approaches to life. On one side, we've got Khalid. You know the type. He's got a bit of mischief on his face, the kind of guy who's quick to rationalize and looks at the world through a lens of whatever's convenient right now. Then on the other side, we have Abdullah. Abdullah is thoughtful, his face is deep in reflection, he's serious and just profoundly anchored in his faith. So they're walking the exact same path, carrying the exact same holy book, but their internal worlds are vastly different. And this dynamic, it perfectly sets the stage for the moral clash that's about to unfold. Suddenly, temptation strikes. As they're chatting, the boys stumble upon this small village shop. And for a kid, this is an absolute treasure trove. Colorful candies, biscuits, chips, all beautifully displayed. But there is a massive catch. The shop is completely unguarded. I mean, no shopkeeper in sight, no adults around anywhere. It is literally just the two boys, the quiet street, and a display of sweets practically begging to be taken. The perfect opportunity for a victimless crime, or, so it seems, has just presented itself on a silver platter. And this brilliantly illustrates the eternal battle between human rationalization and steadfast moral conviction. Khalid's eyes immediately lock onto the toffees. And his logic is incredibly relatable, isn't it? He whispers, "Hey, let's just take a toffee, we can pay for it later. Come on, nobody's looking." He's trying to create a mental loophole. But look at Abdullah's absolute iron resolve here. He speaks softly but super firmly. He says, "No, Khalid, this is wrong. We have the Quran in our hands. Allah is watching." See, Abdullah refuses to separate his physical reality from his spiritual reality. Abdullah's reaction is the absolute perfect embodiment of a concept we really need to highlight right here, Iman. Now, in the Islamic tradition, Iman is often just translated as faith, but honestly, it goes way deeper than that. It's the deep internal conviction that Allah is omnipresent, everywhere, all the time. It means your moral compass doesn't just mysteriously shut off because the street happens to be empty. True Iman means acting with the exact same integrity in absolute isolation as you would in a crowded room. Abdullah is practically reminding his friend, how on earth can we do wrong when we are physically holding the very book that commands us to do right? Now, I want to slow down our pacing for a second here, because the way this climax unfolds is just incredibly cinematic and spiritually heavy. Let's trace exactly how this happens. First, temptation strikes, and Khalid's hand actually reaches out for the candy. Right at that peak moment of tension, this sudden, gentle breeze blows through the village, rustling the shop's curtains. It's almost like nature itself is reacting to the choice. And in that very instant, the azan, the call to prayer, echoes loudly from the distant mosque. Abdullah takes a deep breath and repeats, "Allah is watching." Finally, this whole atmospheric shift just totally pierces Khalid's conscience. He feels that presence, and he immediately pulls his hand back. But human nature is super complex, right? And the story captures this beautifully. Even after Khalid pulls his hand back and admits Abdullah is right, the temptation doesn't just magically evaporate. A lingering greed is still hanging around in his heart. He whispers, "Abdullah, come on, it's just one toffee." The text describes this as a suffocating feeling in the air, the whisper of Shaitan trying to minimize the wrongdoing. This is such a profound psychological insight. Whenever we're tempted to do something unethical, our brains immediately try to downplay it. We tell ourselves, it's just a pen from the office, or it's just one tiny lie, or in this case, it's just one little candy. So the crucial point is how Abdullah completely crushes this excuse. With absolute firmness, he tells him a wrong is a wrong, whether it's one or many. He doesn't let Khalid fall into that trap of relative morality. Plus, Abdullah reminds him that because they are actually holding the Quran, their responsibility to act righteously is magnified. Having knowledge and carrying divine guidance means you are held to a much higher standard. You literally cannot hold the ultimate truth in your hands while simultaneously committing an act of deceit. It is a massive reality check for Khalid. As the call to prayer grows louder, completely drowning out those negative whispers, the boys make their final decision. And the resolution happens in 3 distinct steps. Step 1, they walk away from the shop, hands completely empty of stolen candy, but full of the Quran. Step 2, they head straight to the mosque and play Maghrib. Step 3, the aftermath. The story explicitly notes that inside the mosque, there was this strange, beautiful peace. After the prayer, Khalid realizes his heart feels incredibly light. That heavy, suffocating feeling of temptation, completely replaced by the profound tranquility that only comes from doing the right thing. But the story doesn't just end with a warm spiritual feeling. It actually translates into honest physical action. As they leave the mosque and head home, they pass by the shop again. Only this time, the shopkeeper has returned. Khalid reaches into his pocket, pulls out his own money, hands it over, and honestly buys the toffee. They didn't have to suppress their desire forever. They simply chose to fulfill it through the right, legitimate, and honest channel. They let their spiritual choice govern their physical transaction. When the shopkeeper hands over the candy, he gives them this beaming smile and drops a piece of profound wisdom that serves as the ultimate validation of their choice. He says, "My son, he who fears Allah never suffers a loss." This phrase completely reframes Khalid's earlier logic. Think about it. Khalid thought he was getting a win by snagging free candy. But the shopkeeper points out that true victory, true success without loss, only comes when you align your actions with the awareness of God. Whether you have the Quran in your physical hands or not, carrying its message in your heart ensures you are never, ever truly at a loss. Let's move to and see how this builds into the core takeaways of our story. This narrative just beautifully packages the tenets of Iman. First up, Allah is everywhere. True awareness means acknowledging his presence in those empty streets just as much as in the mosque. Second, the very act of stopping yourself from doing wrong when you have the absolute perfect opportunity to do it, that is the truest symptom of faith. Third, the Quran isn't just a physical book to be carried around, it's an active guide that demands to be followed to lead you to success. And finally, honest actions bring genuine peace to the heart and blessings to your life. As Abdullah and Khalid walked the rest of the way home under that fading Maghrib light, they made a silent pact that whether the Quran was physically in their hands or not, they would always remember they are being watched by the divine. And that brings us right back to you. We started this explainer with a question, and I want to leave you with a slightly evolved one to ponder. Even if your hands are empty and you aren't holding a holy book or standing in a place of worship, how will you act in your daily life, in those quiet, unseen moments, knowing that you are never truly alone? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating story with me today. Keep that integrity strong and keep learning.